So in this lesson, we're just going to discuss the differences between data, information, and knowledge. And then we're also going to look at the differences between static information and dynamic information. But please let me know if you have any questions about anything that you see in this video. So let's have a look at these slides. Define data. So data is raw numbers, letters, symbols, sounds, or images without meaning. So some examples, you might see these in your textbook as well. So P952BR and 153. If you're given values like these that don't have any meaning or context, for example, we don't know what these are being used for, then these values can be considered data. They don't have any meaning or context. Define information. So information's data with context and meaning. So examples, if we're using the same examples from the previous slide, if we say that P952BR represents a product code, then this bit of data becomes information. The same with the 152. If we say it's price in dollars for some product, then this bit of data becomes information. So as soon as data gets meaning or context, it changes to information. So define knowledge. So knowledge is information to which human experience has been applied. So how you know you're dealing with knowledge is if you are taking the information that you've been given and applying it to something or some area, or using that information. Then you are dealing with knowledge. So below are examples on how information is converted to knowledge. So we have the information on the left side and the knowledge on the right. So if we are given 3, 6, 9, and 12 are the first 4 answers in the 3 times table, then what we can do, we can use this information and apply it to, let's say, the 4 times table. So we know from looking at these values that 4, 8, 12, and 16 are the first 4 answers in the 4 times table. So we know that because if we look at this information here, if you start with 3, we can see that for the 3 times table, you're going up in 3s. So we can use that knowledge to look at the 4 times table. We can start at 4 and then know to add 4s to these values. So we can use this information and apply it to a different number in the times table. Let's say, for example, you're given heights of students. So we're given these values, 161.2, 175.3, etc., etc. Let's say they're the heights of the 5 tallest 15-year-old students in a class. Then what we can do, we can use this information, and by applying it or using it, we can get to the answer that the tallest student is 175.3. So we're using this information here to get the knowledge that the tallest student is 175.3 centimeters tall. So whenever you're using information or applying it, you are working with knowledge. Define static data and give an example. So this is data that does not normally change. So some examples over here are the title of a web page, the information in a magazine, the writing on CD-ROMs or disks, and instructions on a data entry screen. So when you're dealing with static data, just think of like textbooks. The information in this textbook, once this textbook has been published, it cannot be changed in that textbook. So static data is data that does not normally change. So static information sources, what are the advantages of these? So the information can be viewed offline because live data is not required. So like a textbook, you don't need the internet to view that information. It is more likely to be accurate because time will have been taken to check the information being published, as it will be available for a long period of time. So if you think of like a textbook, that information is going to be checked before they actually publish that textbook. So they'll make sure all the information is accurate, and then they'll only publish it, because textbooks are, for example, going to be available for a long period of time. Static information sources, what are the disadvantages? So the information can go out of date quickly because it is not designed to be changed on a regular basis. So if you look at a textbook from like 20 years ago, the information, if you compare it to textbooks in our time, or if you compare it to textbooks that have been published now, the information will probably be a little bit different, because the information in a textbook that has been published this year will most likely be more up to date than a textbook from 20 years ago. Define dynamic data and give an example. So dynamic data is data that changes automatically without user intervention. So some data that is online that uses the internet, you're going to find that most data, or at least some of it, is going to be dynamic data. So here are some examples. You get live sports results on a website. So for example, when a goal is scored, the scores will update on that website. If you have news feeds on a mobile phone app, when the news is changed in the main database, the news feed will be updated on the phone. Availability of tickets for a concert. When somebody books a ticket, the ticket is no longer available. Product prices for a till or point of sale. If a price is reduced or increased in the database, this new price will be used the next time the barcode is scanned. And train expected arrival times. These will update automatically based on the train's position. So these are just examples of dynamic data. So dynamic information sources, what are the advantages? So information is updated automatically when the original data changes. It is most likely to be up to date as it changes automatically based on the source data. Lastly, what are the disadvantages of dynamic information? An internet or network connection to the source data is required, which can be costly. It can also be slow in remote areas. Okay, so information's mostly online for dynamic information, so you have to have that connection. And the data may have been produced very quickly, and so may contain errors. So they have to update the information without actually putting in enough time to check that it is accurate. That information that they update could be incorrect. Okay, that is it. I hope that was alright. Let me know if you have any questions.